Alright, today I have a super fun one for everybody. If you're anything like me, I have been super obsessed with kombucha. The fun little flavors and all that stuff. You see them in all the grocery stores nowadays. Unfortunately, they cost anywhere from $3 to $6 a piece. So I am going to show you how to make these for pennies. We are going to start with about 1.5 gallons of distilled water. I don't know the science behind it, guys, but I was told distilled is what we need, so distilled is what I use. So you can buy the jugs pretty inexpensively at any store. I've got my large pot here, and I am going to bring it to a boil. Now, while I have it on high, I'm going to go ahead and cut open my 6 bags of tea. This particular one, I'm going to use a green tea as my base. They normally recommend either a green tea or a black tea. Okay, so I just cut the tops off of mine here. And again, it is important that you use an organic tea bag here. I have done both green and black teas, and I know there's other variations you can use. I kind of stick with the basics. This is probably about my 5th time making a batch of kombucha, so I'm kind of experimenting. I'm getting a little bit more courageous, but I don't like to stray too far from what I've learned, just because I know the slightest little thing and you could ruin your whole batch. And it does take anywhere between 3 and 13 days to kind of ferment, so it'd be a shame to, for me anyway, to kind of waste it all just making a silly mistake like not buying organic tea bags. So I buy organic tea bags. And I just kind of twist them around the side there and let them kind of sit in until my water boils. I'll let it continue to boil for about a minute or two, and then I'll turn it off and remove it from the heat. Alright, so our tea is at a rapid boil. I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat off. And I'm just going to move these around a little bit just to make sure all the tea is in fact getting steeped. And then I'm going to remove this from the heat. Woo. You know what? Let's put it right here. Get this out of the way. Remove that from the heat and just let it sit until it completely comes to room temperature. Okay, so our tea has completely come to room temperature, so I've got about 1.5 gallons or 24 cups of brewed black organic tea. Or I'm sorry, I used green tea. It just came out really dark. I think it was black tea. So I'm going to dump that in my large glass container. It's important that you use glass and not plastic. And then it calls for 1 cup of an already pre-made kombucha drink. So I've got my cup here. Measure it out. Put that in there. And then it calls for 1¼ cup of organic sugar. And this is actually what the SCOBY, which I'll talk about in a second, will use to ferment and take all the, ooh, that's way too much. Use that sugar to turn into that good bacteria that we're looking for. All those terrific probiotics that this kombucha will provide us. And then for the most important part, which is the SCOBY, this funny looking deflated silicone boob. Honestly, it's the best thing I can use to describe what it looks like, or kind of like a flat mushroom cap that's really jelly and kind of gross. SCOBY is actually an acronym, and it stands for, correct me if I'm wrong, a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And that again is what this SCOBY here is going to cling to that sugar and turn it into that awesome bacteria that we want out of our kombucha. So now that all those ingredients are in there, I'm just going to get a big spoon. We're going to stir it up, and then I'm going to top it with a breathable, clean, dry cloth, and then secure it with a big rubber band. So I'm just going to stir that to kind of dissolve the sugar. And your scobies can be stored at room temperature for, I believe, about 6 weeks, or you can store them in the fridge for up to, I think, 3 months. And you always want to cover it. I don't know if you noticed there was some liquid in the bowl that I had it in. You want to keep it wet, so you want to cover it, and I usually just leave a little bit of whatever the kombucha that I just made. I'll just take a little bit of liquid out of there, and that's what I'll use to cover my SCOBY. And you'll also notice too that when you make kombucha, when you make a fresh batch, you're actually going to gain another SCOBY. So you'll end up with 2 SCOBYs after this, and then you can just kind of rotate it or give it to friends, whatever you want, and your kombucha will continue to thrive. So there you go. I am now going to top this with my cloth, and then use my rubber band just to make sure no bugs or flies or anything like that gets in there. But again, this breathable cloth will allow the air to kind of ventilate through there so it doesn't mildew. And I'm going to leave that for about 10 days, and then bottle it, and I'll show you some fun different fruit varieties that you can use to make your kombucha taste just as good as the store-bought kind. So once you've got your kombucha in your container and covered up, you want to place it in a nice kind of dark corner of the house. In this particular case, it's a small piece of my tiny closet where I keep all my pots and pans, but I'll just sit it on that rack. That way it's away from sunlight, away from any excessive heat, and that's where it's going to live for about the next 10 days before I check on it. Okay guys, so we're about 3 to 4 days in. I think it's the 4th day. I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of what you're looking for. Now that's my SCOBY that kind of looks like a crepe folded in half right there on top. But you can also see, and don't be too concerned at this stage. I know the first time I did it, I thought for sure I was growing mold and that this batch was bad. But I will show you some pictures of what you don't want to see and what is in fact a new SCOBY forming. So right now everything looks good. It's still in my closet, so I'm going to leave it covered for another 7 days or so and check back, show you what it looks like then. Okay guys, so it has been about 2 weeks and I've taken the top off, and I just kind of want to show you kind of what to expect as far as what you're looking for. Inevitably, I swear to you, every time I make kombucha, I look at it after about a week and I swear it's gone moldy and that it's no good, but lo and behold, every time it comes out fine. So with this batch too, I was looking at it and I saw some of these white dots and I thought, you know, that's mold, but here it is, and it kind of looks gross, it kind of looks strange, but should form that sort of film around the top. So now you're going to have 2 SCOBYs, and you can't really see it now. See if I can lift this up. But this is all one big SCOBY, and it's kind of attached to that second SCOBY underneath there. So when you go, you take this out, and if you think you're going to use it again, you want to keep it moist, and I'll show you how to do that. But you'll see the distinct, it'll kind of shrink up and you'll see the distinction between the 2 SCOBYs. So I'm going to take the SCOBY out, I'm going to give it a stir, and then what we're going to do is start to bottle and put in our fruits or flavors of choice, and I'll show you how to do that. So again, it's been about 2 weeks that I've let it ferment. So we get to this point, I'm going to put the fruit in our bottles, and then we're going to let it ferment for another few days just to infuse that fruit flavor, whatever it is you're choosing to put in there, okay? Alright, so we're in our final stages of bottling and fermenting our kombucha. We're doing the flavor step right now, which is, I think, the most fun. I've got everything out on the table that we're going to need. Obviously, our kombucha in our big glass jar. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but some people have asked where to get these, and Michael's or Hobby Lobby, those kind of stores are always a good spot to look, or you can order one online as well. Might be a little heavy to ship, I don't know, but so I've got my liquid measuring cup that I'm going to actually use to scoop out the kombucha, and my funnel to place inside my glasses so I can pour it easily without minimal spilling anyway. I've got some different flavor profiles here. I am going to be using just some fruits and stuff that I had around the house. So I've got pears, I've got strawberries, I've got limes, I've got ginger, I've got some pink grapefruit. I think all of these lend themselves really well, even for pairing and kind of mixing and matching. It could be a lot of fun. So any flavors that you like, and if you're out of ideas, go look at the store flavors that they have, and that maybe I'll give you some ideas of things you can add in. But really, just try anything, any fruits, spices, herbs, whatever it is you want to use. So I know from experience that the amount that I gave you, the 24 cups, will fill up about 12 to 14 of these glass jars, which are similar in size to the kombucha that you get from the stores. So just keep that in mind. And for each one, I'll probably put about anywhere from 2 to 4 pieces of fruit, of whatever it is I'm using per jar. All right, so I've got some helpers today who are super excited about helping with the fruits.
Hello.
All right, so they're going to help me put these in there. So girls, why don't we start with, I want to do at least 3 that are just ginger. So go ahead and add 2 pieces of ginger to 3 different jars there.
In here?
Yep, to our glasses. So add 2 pieces per glass. Thank you.
And then you do one and then I'll do one.
Can you reach it?
This one's big.
Got it? All right, so let's leave those aside, and then let's go and do grapefruit this time. Let's add 2 pieces of grapefruit to 3.
2 pieces?
Yep, if you can get it in there. It's juicy. It's juicy.
Oh gosh.
And big. Got it?
You put one in each, I put one in each. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's all good.
It exploded.
I love the citrusy ones. So I love any sort of citrus, whether it be grapefruit, lime, lemon. I especially like it mixed with another fruit like strawberries. So let your imagination run wild. You can try a whole bunch of different combinations and flavors, and you'll eventually find the ones that you really like. Will probably be the ones you use a lot. I do love berries. I don't happen to have blueberries or blackberries. They're not really in season right at the moment, but I've done like a triple berry before, and that turned out really nice too. Get in there.
That one's a juicy one.
All right, so I'm gonna I washed my hands. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out our SCOBY. You can see it is funny looking. So it has already detached. This was the one we originated with, we started with, and that's our new SCOBY that we formed. And it will shrink up, so it'll look similar to this when it's all done. But you're just gonna put it in a glass jar, and you're gonna take a little bit of your kombucha liquid, and you're just going to cover it up. You want to keep it moist. You don't want it to dry out. So as long as you're just covering the top, that's all you need. And then you can cover that and put it in the refrigerator, like I said, or in a cool, dark place. Okay, so I'm just filling my jars or my glasses here, and I'm doing that by, again, just taking the kombucha out of the jar, using my liquid measuring cup here, and then with my funnel, you want to fill it up to, what should I say? You want to leave a couple inches at the top, basically, because what's going to happen is that fruit is going to ferment a little bit more, and you're going to need that little bit of space, especially because it's going to get a little carbonated as well. So you just want to give it a little room at the top to breathe and to expand if it needs to. And I should mention also, if it's smelling kind of vinegary or tangy, you're doing something right. That's what you should smell. And to taste it at this stage, you know, some people do drink it like this. I prefer mine with some fruit flavor, but it does taste a lot like vinegar. You know, it's got that sort of strong vinegar smell. So I will finish off the rest of that, but just again to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. Whoop. So your fruit is in there. We've left a few inches at the top, and I'm just going to now cap them off and then put them back in a cool, dark, dry place to ferment for another 3 days. After 3 days, you can put them in the refrigerator and they will be ready to go. So this is the last stage here, guys. We're just going to top it off and put it in the cool, dark place to continue fermenting for those last 3 days, and you're going to have yourself some delicious kombucha. Now for the rest of the liquid that I had, I actually ended up using some 100% pure juice like mango or pineapple. As you see here, not from concentrate, just 100% pure juice. Those are also great additives. I hope you guys enjoy. You're going to be saving tons of money. Don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.